so in this video what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the late hit. Now the late hit I think might mean different things to different people, but I would say it falls into two categories. One, the hands forward. Okay, so when we look at professional golfers, we always know that they deliver the ball and the club head is always ahead of the hands, and with a lot of amateurs that's not always the case. And the second thing is when we tend to watch professional golfers, it always looks like the body sort of moves through first and then the hands very quickly follow. And that would be again another example of a sort of good kinematic sequence slash good late hitting on the back of the golf ball. So we're going to talk about a couple of the key principles that you need to apply in your swing to be able to demonstrate the late hit. So talking about the concept of shaft lean, I think the golfers tend to get a little bit lost with shaft lean. So I meet some people that come through that door for golf lessons who are decent golfers and got good golf swings, and they're trying to really force the hands forward. And all this does is it's kind of shoving the club in the wrong direction. Okay, so it kind of means if I'm hitting in this direction, I'm trying to excessively push my hands forward. All it's doing is it's moving the club too much to the right of the target, and you just tend to get some horrible results with that. So what I always try and explain to these guys is I'll always say the same as I'm saying to you. It's like, well, look, if I get set up to the golf ball, that would be my sort of, you know, grip and set at position. But when I hit the ball, I don't return into the same position. My pelvis is more open, my chest is more open, my shoulders are slightly more open. And when we're more open, what it does is it moves the shoulder location, it moves them obviously, like I say, more open. So you can see the way that my left wrist starts to flatten because my shoulder's further away from its original position. So when it comes to shaft lean, the big thing that you're trying to understand is the reason why you end up with more shaft lean is because your body's more open when you end up hitting the golf ball, as opposed to, you know, making sure that you're too square. So the next question is, well, how do we therefore get that relationship of opening? And I think this drill should be hopefully really useful for you. The simplicity of this exercise is you're going to put your hands together in a sort of prayer-like position, and then you're going to place your right hand underneath your lead hands, or your trail hand underneath your lead hand, like so. And then you're going to take your backswing position, and wherever you end up in your backswing position, we're going to make the assumption you're in a good backswing, you are going to make sure that your trail hand is applying enough pressure to your lead hand to keep it up in the air. Okay, and this just basically means we are not going to be looking for any consciousness to pull the arms down at the start of the downswing. Okay, so as I go to initiate my downswing, what I am going to do is, can you see the way that I am rotating my lower body, so my pelvis region and my chest, they are progressively moving towards the target, like so. Okay, if I just do that a couple of times so we can really see, I'm rotating to the left. Now as I do this, what happens is you can see the way that it moves my shoulder. So my lead shoulder starts to move, obviously initially down and to the left, and then it comes kind of back around like so. Now, because my body rotates down to the left, then therefore what happens is my shoulder moves. And because my shoulder moves, my hands move. But the reason why I think that's so important to understand in terms of that sort of sequence is that your hands are moving downward as a very much a byproduct of a lot of rotation occurring in the initiation towards the downswing position. Now, for me, I'm sort of, I suppose, quite fortunate where I get good distance in my golf swing and sort of possess that effortless look. Now, the reason why that happens, and the big thing that I always see when I get golfers to do this, is this transitional area. So what we know happens with a professional golfer is when they start the downswing, they manage to move the chest, and the chest and the arm relationship gets a little bit closer. It gets a little bit narrower as they start the downswing. So like so. Now this basically means if you go back to this exercise again, and if you pause at left arm horizontal, if you've moved downward and rotated correctly, you should feel weight pressure building underneath your lead leg. But what you should also feel is, because your trail arm is applying enough pressure upward, you should feel a lot of storing of energy underneath this arm. And then you've got that kind of to propel off your chest and whiz it through. And that's the big thing that you're looking for, particularly when it comes to that sort of sequence and having that ability to get that late hit. You know, if I sort of swung back and then sort of kept my back to the target and just pulled my arms down from here, what would happen is that my arm would just wheel its way from the chest and there just wouldn't be enough power in it. If I do that again, and this time I move my lower and my chest, and that brings my arm down, I can now feel this storing of energy up here. In fact, I may miss-hit it, but even literally doing this exercise where I sort of swing back and then I move, so I've got this storing of energy, I can still produce a decent club head speed by actually pausing at lead arm horizontal. So the big things that you really need to understand Or if you're trying to get that late hit, you need to be introducing shaft lean. The way you're going to get shaft lean is by being open when you hit it. But the point is, there's no point just being open in the golf swing for shaft lean, really. You know, if I just hit a shot where I swing back and I'm just sort of open, you know, it doesn't mean anything. The point that we're trying to say is the openness will give you the shaft lean, but the kinematic sequence and understanding how to use your energy is the key thing. And that's why, again, it's so important that we run through this. This is going down this way to my lead side, okay? This is a key. This is my big engine that's moving here. This is moving this, as you can see. Can't stop that from happening. And then obviously my shoulder is moving my arm, which is moving my hands, okay? So in the golf swing, when we're coming towards this downswing, that's why you have to be really good in that transition, in this position, because it's going to get you into this place where then you can start to clear. This part will slow down and this part will theoretically be speeding up. And that's why I just think this drill could be a real game changer for lots of you. And it is the way that you're going to take yourself from somebody who theoretically, you know, like a terminology, hits it a bit early, a bit like this, as opposed to somebody who's got that late hit look about them where they really open up and it looks like the hands come through a lot later. And that's fundamentally how you're going to do it. It's going to give you that effortlessness feel, and I think if you practice that drill, it could make a massive difference. See you soon.